how to set personal boundaries is not for the timid or faint of heart. But if you're tired of just being tired, angry, and frustrated by the way your life is seemingly controlled by others, then stick around for the next few minutes. If you're not taking the time to set healthy boundaries in your life, you're inviting people in to just blatantly disrespect you. And you're allowing them to take control of your time, energy, and efforts. You have difficulty saying no because of the guilt you feel, so you say yes, even to the requests that they make of you that you don't want to do and that take time away from all of the things that are really important to you. Without boundaries, you are endangering your health and well being and leaving your destiny up to someone else. You'll quickly lose self confidence to accomplish anything worthwhile, and you'll be bound to a life without power to stand up for yourself and what you believe in. Living without boundaries can make you subject to all types of manipulative and controlling people who'll drag you in and out of relationships and make your life completely miserable. Think of yourself as being a country. Just like countries, when you look at them on a map, they have boundary lines. These boundary lines are your personal space. Your personal boundaries represent where you draw the line on the limitations that you put to your person and to your beliefs, standards, morals, and values. These boundaries may have been formed by past experiences, beliefs, and attitudes that you've learned so far in your life and lessons that you've gotten from social interactions. Many people have developed rigid boundaries which protect them from hurt, either emotional or physical. Other boundaries involve your social status and your genetic makeup. If you've set too rigid boundaries for yourself, you may seem like an impenetrable force to others and seem unapproachable. Others hardly set any boundaries for themselves and are subject to manipulation and physical and mental abuse. Different boundaries may be set for those that you work with compared to your family members or friends. And if you're unlucky enough to be in a relationship with a narcissist, you know that he or she won't recognize any boundaries that you set. So let's talk about the types of boundaries. Several types of personal boundaries that you might want to take into consideration. The first being physical, those boundaries which relate to how you react to people coming into your personal space. Then you have mental boundaries. These boundaries involve your opinions and values. If you don't have strong mental values, you could be easily manipulated. There's material values, boundaries. How you feel about lending your personal things is a good representation of your material boundaries. Spiritual boundaries. Judgmental and manipulative people tend to prey on those who have little to no spiritual boundaries. So, say for instance you are speaking to someone and you say something that doesn't align with their religious beliefs, and instead of them accepting that the two of you don't believe the same things, they attack you and condemn you to something bad for not believing it. That will be a spiritual or religious boundary. The last one is emotional. When healthy emotional boundaries are in place, you tend to accept responsibility for yourself and expect others to act appropriately. All of these types of personal boundaries need to be developed in your life to protect yourself from control and abuse by others. There may be glaring reasons for you to change or set new boundaries in your life. For example, if you have trouble saying no. Your personal time should be in control by you at all times. When you begin to feel angry or frustrated that you're spending so much time on things that you don't want to do or that you don't really have time for, then it's time for you to update that boundary for yourself. Or if you find that you're getting little respect from other people, feeling that you have no respect from people in your life, from your boss to your kids, your parents, whoever it may be. means that you should begin to stand up and demand the respect that you deserve by setting crucial boundaries. Or being victimized, when you're in a relationship or a situation where you're a victim of abuse, either physical, verbal, emotional, financial, whatever it is, your health and mental well-being, they're going to suffer. So setting boundaries is a sure way to get out of victim mode. Setting boundaries for yourself is extremely personal, and one set of rules are, they're not going to work for everybody. That's why it's important that you know the areas where your boundaries need to be set or revamped, and you give it the attention that it deserves. Your boundaries at work may be more of an issue for you than those with family members. It's different for everyone, but everyone feels the same when their personal boundaries are being crossed. You have to know yourself. Knowing yourself is where you stand in the starting point for setting and enforcing these boundaries. So, what do you do when boundary conflicts arise? Boundary changes, no matter how big or small they are going to bring conflict. You may be in a relationship or work situation where you're feeling taken advantage of in one way or another. And when you change or begin to enforce new boundaries, you need to be prepared to enforce them and accept the consequences that come with it. For example, the following boundary situations are common in relationships at work. One, you aren't invited to meetings when you should be, or your boss demands more of your time than previously agreed to. Boundary situations common with family, asking intimate questions which make you feel uncomfortable, or dropping by unannounced at your home or office. Some boundary situations that you may have with a spouse or someone you're in a romantic relationship with. The main person in your life takes you for granted, or you feel neglected in the relationship. Some common boundaries with friends or associates is verbal or physical abuse or gossiping about you behind your back. Each situation requires different responses from you. So, I'm going to quickly touch on the necessary steps to set boundaries in these types of relationships, and then provide some tips about how to react and handle the corresponding situations. So, now we're going to get into how to develop healthy boundaries. Setting healthy boundaries is the beginning of living a healthy and well lived life. But know that you're going to encounter some difficulties along the way, especially with those who have different expectations of you than you have for yourself. So be prepared to leave others with confusion about how you're now reacting to crossing your newly developed boundaries. It's important that you don't react with anger, but with calmness and self assuredness, that this is now how you want and demand to be treated. Think about how the boundaries you have now in place are working for you. If you're feeling overwhelmed and tired from trying to please everyone, it may be time to set some new boundaries or resolve to follow through with some of the ones that you already have in place. It helps to write down some of the boundaries that you'd like to have in your relationships. Some will be non-negotiable, and you should be extremely clear about what it would take to cross that boundary. Also, you need to have a plan about your reaction to the trespassing of those boundaries. When you know what your personal limits are, you can better clarify them to others without argument or hard feelings. You'll also need to start thinking about how to protect your new boundaries. It'll take some practice and determination to put boundaries into place, especially if you're new to having them in your life. Being small with things that aren't very threatening, and progress to more rigid boundaries for beliefs you strongly feel about. So, properly setting important personal boundaries can make your life much easier to navigate. You won't have to worry if you handle the situation properly because the boundaries in place and you've addressed the situation with that belief in mind. No longer are you going to have to give in to other people's demands, which you find offensive, or which keep you from spending your time the way that you want to. You'll find yourself much more in command of your own life and able to take more time to enjoy the present moments. Some ways that sounding boundaries can be a positive life change would be you won't need to depend on someone else for your happiness. Your relationships with others will be a lot more healthier. The intimacy that you have with your partner is going to be much more attainable, and your work will be a happier place because boundaries are set. It's never too late to set personal boundaries. Those who are positive influences in your life will notice the changes and they'll applaud you for them, while those who would rather control and manipulate you are going to fall by the wayside. Best of all, you'll no longer feel that your life is being controlled by someone else and you're simply a puppet being pulled by strings. Boundaries also prevent you from being victimized, and you won't fear losing a relationship that isn't good for you in the first place. You also need to remember that your boundaries that you set for yourself are not things that you're using to control the actions of other people. Your boundaries are put in place so that they know how you are going to react if they cross them. You put boundaries in place to control yourself. So if you say, I don't like it when you talk to me like that, it's not you controlling the way that they talk to you, because they can still talk to you in a disrespectful way. The boundary comes in where you learn to walk away and never talk to them again, or at the very least limit the amount of interaction that you have with these people. You put boundaries in place so that you preserve your own mental health. You put boundaries in place so that you keep your sanity. You keep your morals and your values in place at a level where you want them to be and not where someone else thinks they should be.